WSC iBudget Implementation Refresher Training. This training will provide refresher information to waiver support coordinators, WSC, to assist with the implementation of the iBudget algorithm pursuant to the iBudget rules 65G-4.0213 through 65G-4.0218. WSCs must thoroughly understand the content of the iBudget rules. WSCs need to understand the algorithm and explain it to the consumer and representative. The WSC must understand the role of the QSI in relation to the algorithm. The WSC must be able to facilitate discussions with consumers and the representative about the algorithm and understand how to work with iBudget allocation by using both waiver and non-waiver supports.
As a result of the new APD iBudget rules, the agency is implementing a new algorithm for all consumers receiving iBudget waiver services. WSCs play an integral role in assisting the consumers in choosing waiver and non-waiver supports and services. WSCs are the front lines of communication with consumers receiving services and their representatives, and it is critical and required for accurate information to be conveyed.
WSCs may find additional training regarding the iBudget rule and using the SAN system on the APD website. Please visit apdcares.org/waiver/support-coordination/. This training will provide refresher information on the iBudget waiver and its flexibility. This training will cover the Amount Implementation Meeting, or AIM, process, as well as WSC and APD responsibilities for the Notice of iBudget Amount.
The iBudget waiver and iBudget system were designed to ensure that consumers have greater flexibility with their services. As a WSC, you are required to help the consumers that you serve choose services and supports from an array of resources. The iBudget Florida system places a special emphasis on WSCs working with consumers and families to locate and develop natural and community supports. In some instances, these supports are from resources such as private insurance, Medicaid state plan, or nonprofit organizations. Using funding from the iBudget waiver should be the last resort. All other resources should be used first. For example, after an adult exhausts the outpatient physical therapy through Medicaid, they may access it through the iBudget waiver if additional services remain medically necessary. Or if an individual needs assistance in finding a job, they access job placement services through vocational rehabilitation and later follow-along services from the iBudget waiver. However, beyond this, WSCs must work with the consumers and their circles of support to identify and develop natural supports, including the help of family, friends, colleagues, churches, or businesses. For example, the parent can drop off the individual at their adult day training or job on their way to work rather than using waiver-funded transportation. Another example is a family friend can provide companionship while the individual goes to the gym to exercise instead of paid supports.
Once services are authorized through the iBudget waiver, consumers have flexibility to choose alternate supports and services within the iBudget amount, choose and change providers, move unused dollars forward for new service needs. For example, an individual was sick and missed a week of ADT but later wants extra companion services to accompany them to volunteer opportunity that they are interested in doing. Before requesting increases in iBudget amounts, the WSC must always ensure the following. Identify if the need can be met through natural community supports. This should be documented in the support plan and/or case notes. Meet needs by moving funds from unused services. The WSC can review service provide documentation and also discuss with the consumer if there were missed days, hours in services. For example, if a consumer was on vacation and did not attend ADT for a week, the unused ADT amounts could be moved to meet a dental need. Meet needs by using existing budget that is not already being used for other services. Use the iBudget system to see if there are funds that have not been allocated to services. Those must be accessed first. Even if funds are identified to be used for certain services, the WSC should discuss alternate options that will meet the health and safety needs of the consumer. For example, can natural supports provide some supervision on a weekend so that money can be used to cover a dental need?
Now, we will introduce Robin Stosky, self-advocate, to discuss iBudget flexibility for a more personal perspective.
The iBudget. Why is it named the iBudget? The iBudget is individualized to the person to maintain their greatest independence in the least restrictive manner without jeopardizing their health, medical needs, and safety. Flexibility is one of the greatest things about the iBudget. The flexible budget over time allows for changes and needs that may occur over the course of the year. For instance, I moved money from personal porch units to physical therapy one quarter because I was getting adjusted to new braces to meet my new demands at work. In order to adjust them over time, we needed a couple extra hours of physical therapy that one quarter instead of using personal support hours. In other instances, I put funds into personal supports as I was traveling to an educational seminar that quarter, and I needed a personal supports provider to go with me. Sometimes we need to look outside of the iBudget for supports. These supports can be such things as VR, insurance, and GoFundMe. I've used vocational rehabilitation on a number of occasions for new braces, work adaptations, such as specialized balance training, driving adaptations, and other work-related issues. Insurance, such as Medicare, I've used for wheelchair coverage as well as durable medical equipment coverage. It hasn't come up without a fight and much justification, and many go-arounds with proper usage of terminology and documentation of medical necessity, but it did get covered. I've also used the GoFundMe account. I used the GoFundMe account when my old walker no longer was working to sustain the needs of my Taekwondo, as I could no longer keep up with my peers, and I had advanced in ranking so much that it no longer met the demands that I needed to advance in ranking and keep up with my peers. Once receiving that walker, I was able to do such things as advance to the next level, next class, and keep up with my peers and be more included and integrated into the class. Role of the waiver support coordinator. What is the relationship of the waiver support coordinator and the consumer? To me, we're just simply partners in the journey towards independence. The role of this waiver support coordinator is to share the available resources and community resources with me available in my community. Be open-minded and willing to be educated and share changes of future adaptations that may be needed in my current iBudget. Brainstorm with me to problem solve and to seek inclusion and integration in the community, as well as to understand and support my decisions as an individual whose mind is fully able to comprehend and make appropriate decisions, but due to my physical limitations, my body and motor skills don't always cooperate and follow through. For people who have limited understanding, the waiver support coordinator should use appropriate language to explain to the consumer and those that help them to understand and ask questions. Just because things look one way does not mean that that is always the whole picture. As the consumer, the expectations of me to the waiver support coordinator are to speak up and advocate for myself, explain what I need, work together with the waiver support coordinator, and educate them about my life and what my needs are on a daily basis. Be open and honest of any struggles and barriers that may be hindering my health, safety, and well-being, such as not being able to make my own decisions, or if my medical status or medication status has changed that may lead to future changes and other implications in the future. One factor that plays into the iBudget is the QSI. The QSI is just simply the framework to show a global picture. It's simply the framework of a puzzle. And many of us have done puzzles. But each of our puzzle pieces are different depending on what the puzzle is. But you always have to do the framework first to see what those inside pieces truly look like to do the whole puzzle into completion. Putting pieces together to fit into the framework, what are the pieces of the puzzle that go into your framework, is basically what we have to look at when we look at the QSI. And that helps show the global picture of what a person's life is truly like and what they go through on a daily basis with their struggles and what they can also do independently. One of the pieces of the puzzle for me is my health and safety. What can I do for myself and what do I need help with? My second piece of the puzzle is my medical needs. What do I need to do to maintain medical stability while living independently? My third piece is transportation. How do I get to where I need to go? Work, doctor's appointments, community obligations, etc. The fourth piece of the puzzle for me is community integration. How do I remain an active member of society? What do I want to do in the community? How do I get to work and maintain employment? For me, working at the YMCA for over 10 years now, I open at 4:30 in the morning, multiple days a week. And I have obligations not only to myself, to my coworkers, and to my supervisors to be there on time, and to the members that I will open on time and meet the job criteria necessary to fulfill that role in the best way possible. The fifth piece of the puzzle for me is diet and exercise. What are the benefits of exercise? How do I get the exercise that I need? For me, exercise is crucial, as well as diet, as they are crucial in preventing further blood clots and maintaining stable blood work. My sixth piece of the puzzle is peer integration and support. Do I have friends? Activities outside of work, outside of medical appointments? What do I enjoy doing? What are my hobbies? What are my stress relievers? For me, my greatest hobby is Taekwondo. And it is also my biggest stress reliever, a way of relieving stress. A seventh piece of my puzzle is accessibility and environmental barriers. Am I able to get around independently in my environment and community? That's crucial to my independence. But if I can't get around independently in my community, what are some of the resources I can use to make my environment adaptable so I can be independent as possible? The eighth piece of my puzzle is advocacy. Advocacy is standing up for what I need, educating others, and living the most productive life I can independently while maintaining my health, safety, and well-being, and speaking up for my rights and my well-being. During the AIMS process that will be covered, and when you take a look at these pieces before me, health and safety, my medical needs, transportation, community integration, diet and exercise, peer integration and support, accessibility and environmental barriers, and self-advocacy. Is there enough in my individualized budget to meet my needs in order that my global needs are met and I have optimized the use of all other resources? For most of us, the answer will be yes. For a few of us, the answer will be no. If the answer is no, the resources and the availability to work with your support coordinator to modify and justify the medical necessity for budget modifications are possible. By taking the necessary steps and working with directly with your support coordinator, you can get the process going. If the answer is yes, your budget has been met, and your needs for that year are able to continue as directed, as your needs have been met for that year, and you can continue on. Either way, the pieces of the puzzle, as individuals with disabilities, should not prevent us from living a happy, healthy, safe, and productive life, as well as being a productive member of society, educating others, and living life to our greatest potential and productivity.
During 2017, APD will provide the new algorithm to WSCs. The new algorithm is based upon the consumer's age, living setting, and the results of their needs assessment, the questionnaire for situational information, or QSI. When a new algorithm is calculated, the WSC must meet with the consumer and conduct the amount implementation meeting, also known as the AIM. The WSC must document the AIM process using the AIM worksheet. The AIM worksheet is available online at apd.myflorida.com/iBudget/users.htm. The WSC may wish to schedule the AIM in conjunction with support planning. During the AIM meeting, the WSC must discuss the iBudget allocation algorithm amount and describe how it was calculated using the iBudget calculator. The iBudget calculator is a graphical picture of the elements used to calculate the algorithm. The WSC can review this information with the consumer or individual representative, if applicable, to ensure that accurate information was input in the calculation. The allocation algorithm amount is the starting point for identifying the waiver funding that is needed. Discuss with the consumer and the representative how to meet the consumer's needs and identify all available supports and resources available. This includes, but is not limited to, personal insurance, community resources, friends, family, Medicaid state plan, Medicare, and iBudget waiver services. Discuss the iBudget allocation algorithm amount to determine if it can meet your needs and prioritize what services are most critical that cannot be met by other resources.
If there are service needs that are greater than the iBudget allocation algorithm amount, assist the consumer in requesting these services or obtaining them from the appropriate resource. For example, if an individual resides in a licensed residential facility and the algorithm does not cover the cost of residential habilitation, waiver support coordinator, and consumable medical supplies, the WSC should request additional funding for those critical services. These must be services that meet the criteria for significant additional needs as defined in the iBudget rule and are within the iBudget Waiver Coverage and Limitations Handbook. Complete the AIM worksheet to document these discussions. Communicate the consumer's allocation algorithm amount with the consumer and consumer representative if they have one. They should identify proposed services based upon the allocation algorithm amount and identify additional services, if any, should the consumer or representative feel that any significant additional needs of the consumer cannot be met with the allocation algorithm amount. Please make sure the algorithm amount reflected on this page is current and accurate based on WSC review of the Easy Budget Calculator provided by APD.
On page 1 of the AIM worksheet, the WSC will populate the demographic information at the top and identify any significant additional needs if additional funding is requested about the algorithm amount. The WSC must have the consumer and/or consumer representative check the box in the middle of the form and sign acknowledging the discussion that occurred. On page 2 of the AIM worksheet, the WSC documents the services requested. The WSC must identify the services, begin dates, end dates, rates, units, and annualized units. The amounts and annualized amounts will calculate automatically. The WSC must ensure that all past, current, and future services within the fiscal year are prorated accordingly. Page 3. The AIM is utilized by APD as part of the individual review. Page 3 does not need to be completed by the WSC.
If a consumer has significant additional needs that exceed the algorithm amount, the WSC is required to request the services using the agency's online SAN system. Please ensure that the services identified in the SAN system match the AIM worksheet and include all documentation necessary to support requested services.
The documentation requirements are identified in the iBudget rule and also posted on the APD website at apdcares.org/waiver/support-coordination/. It is the responsibility of the WSC to gather the required documentation and attach it to the SAN request online. Common documentation required are support plans, prescriptions, service logs, annual reports, etc.
The algorithm is accepted by the consumer or individual representative. Then, the AIM worksheet is submitted to the APD regional office by encrypted email to the designated email address. APD will complete an individual review of the AIM worksheet, support plan, and other documentation. If services above the algorithm are requested, APD will determine if service needs meet rule criteria for significant additional needs funding. After conducting an individual review of the AIM worksheet and supporting documentation, the agency will identify the consumer's final iBudget amount. The agency will issue a notice of iBudget amount to the consumer, representative, and WSC. The WSC should discuss the notice with the consumer to ensure their receipt and understanding.
Sometimes a consumer may experience a change and request increased services at times other than the annual support plan. The WSC is responsible for promptly addressing any changed needs. As a first step, the WSC should identify any community or non-waiver supports to assist. The WSC should review the existing budget and services to determine if funds can be moved around within the allocation to address the changed need. If the consumer's change is related to the functional, behavioral, or physical needs of the consumer, the WSC should notify the region that a new QSI may be needed. For example, if a consumer has a new health concern and they require greater assistance with activities of daily living skills, a new QSI may be needed. However, if a change is related solely to the caregiver, a new QSI would not be needed. When a new QSI is completed, if it changes, the WSC will receive an updated algorithm amount from the regional office. Anytime the algorithm changes, the WSC is required to complete the AIM process. If the individual requires services greater than the algorithm amount, the WSC will request funds through the online SAN system. It is critical for the WSC to attach required documentation to ensure services are reviewed based on current and correct information. During the SAN process, the WSC can use existing budget to meet the individual needs. If emergency funds are required, the WSC should notify the regional office immediately.
Thank you for watching.
Yes, thank you for watching. For questions, please contact iBudgetQuestions@apdcares.org.